You were born as a Roman. It's an empire that ruled for 12 centuries and dominated 3 continents at once. But you are not free. Oh, no. Don't worry, you are not a slave. Although perhaps your fate is not much better than theirs. You are a Roman plebeian, a plebs for short. Your rights have been restricted from the start due to an unfair division of social status. The great things you see in ancient Roman-themed films do not match to real life at all, because you are in the wrong caste. When you walk in the city, you might find the people around you still greeting you warmly, perhaps occasionally cracking a harsh or inappropriate joke. Their appearance is similar to yours. They work as laborers and small farmers, just like your profession. All of that is because they are just like you, a plebeian. But when you walk into a slightly more luxurious area, the atmosphere changes. If you are lucky not to be stopped by soldiers, you might see people in majestic robes walking with their heads slightly looking up. Their eyes are cold, glaring at you as if you are a low creature, even though your skin is the same white color. Those snob suckers are patricians. No, we don't call them Patrick. They are the ones who restricted your rights from the beginning. They are the ones who prevented you from having a better life. The accurate part of the gladiator films is actually about them. Conglomerates, fine clothes, and arrogant demeanor type. But why? Why do these plebeians and patricians exist? Why are you considered different? Well, the short answer is because patricians consider you, a pleb, not a true Roman. Yep, you are considered an immigrant. The theory is that your ancestors came from another part of Italy. Apparently, in those days, some parts of Italy were not considered Italy at all by the Italians themselves. Fortunately, modern research finds that the theory is not supported by sufficient evidence. What is more plausible is that the patricians feel much superior because they are descended from the lineage that founded the Roman Empire. Of course, with such a great lineage, they deserve special treatment. But for a moment, let's assume you are indeed not an indigenous Roman. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. Unfortunately, that saying doesn't really apply to you either, because you don't even have the right to do similar things. Unlike the well-off patricians, you live miserably. While patricians work as important people in the government, such as senators, judges, consuls, even religious leaders, you, a plebeian, can only be a peasant. Some plebeians around you are quite wealthy, but they still don't have the right to sit in parliament. Those arrogant patricians are very proud of their higher education, while you, a pleb, are only taught basic reading, writing, and math. Food? Don't ask. Meat is a luxury food for you who have eaten bread and vegetables your whole life, with that garum sauce to enhance your appetite. Rabbit or fish might still be affordable, but bacon or beef? A rare occasion. All those delicacies can only be enjoyed by patricians. The gap between the rich and the poor is even more apparent when talking about housing. Patricians can sleep soundly in their spacious homes. Meanwhile, you, a pleb, have to cram into an insulae, a kind of apartment building filled with dozens or even hundreds of people, depending on the size of the building. The conditions are squalid without adequate sanitation. You can imagine the diseases that can easily spread in that place. Don't dream about the across-the-status boundaries love story between a pleb and a patrician. Although they existed, it was still strictly forbidden. Your romance will always end tragically. Is that the worst part of being a plebeian? Sadly, no. Remember, being a plebeian means being a farmer every day. But on other days, you have to be a soldier. The world's empires are competing for dominance and must use violence, while at the same time, your country's army is not very large. So comes the day when you must leave your fields to go to war. But you are an ancient Roman. Becoming a soldier can be a source of pride, especially if you come from a peasant family. The problem is when the war is over. If you manage to return home alive, you must be prepared to face the fact that your field is neglected, resulting in a massive crop failure. Regardless of your abilities on the battlefield, you are still nobody back home. Just because you are one of hundreds of thousands of soldiers brave enough to die for the empire, doesn't mean you get special treatment when you return. You are just a number. You are just an ordinary person who must be ready to be called back to the battlefield when needed. And now, after the war is over, you are a desperate pleb. There is nothing to sell. Your family cannot eat. So what do? Take out a loan. Unfortunately, often you are unable to pay the debt, so you have to enter the Nexum system. The debt must be paid with your body, either super hard labor or by other means. You know. So how long did this injustice last? The good news is a rebellion occurred. Some plebs beheaded a consul, others left the city, so the empire became desperate. After all, Rome cannot function without its manual laborers, right? A reasonably friendly patrician was sent to call you back. He used a heroic fable that was understandable to you, the low-educated plebeian. After hearing the fable, the representatives of your people agreed to return, but on the condition of forming a forum that allowed the plebs to demand the right to a more decent life. Thus emerged the tribunus plebis, a special tribune for the plebeian class, and this became your first victory. The people allowed to fill the tribune were, of course, plebs. The goal was to veto the decisions of the patricians that you felt disadvantaged you. This was a sacred forum, so that anyone could potentially be punished, and justice for the plebeian class was thus guaranteed. But like everything in this world, nothing is eternal. Something as sacred as the tribunus plebis was eventually tainted by the actions of the people within it. The people in the tribune softened, allowing some trustworthy patricians to join as members. In the following years, tribune rules emerged that finally allowed marriage between plebs and patricians. Your love story, which failed due to caste barriers, finally found a way and was freed from constraint. Love always wins, right? Wrong. That decision backfired, because in the end, the tribune was dominated by the nobility. So, in your own house, the people who were initially your enemies once again made rules preventing you from holding higher office. But isn't it not all patricians evil, just like not all plebeians are weak? Well, let you be the judge after hearing the next incident. What do you think when a patrician named Publius Clodius gave up his noble status and became the adopted son of a pleb? At first glance, it sounds touching. Then it turned out he did it so he could become the leader of the tribune, seize his political opponent's property, and gain huge profits from the action. Clodius was only the beginning, by the way, because it turned out that in the following years, the action of the plebs allowing patricians to enter the tribune eventually gave rise to one famous name: Julius Caesar. The bottom line is, life as a pleb was full of sorrow. After all the sweat and blood you shed, it all felt in vain, especially if that sacrifice was for your country. Sounds familiar? So, if you feel your life today is unfair, there's no need to be sad, because fundamentally, life in the modern age is not so different from life in the plebeian era.